It is brainlessly simple, like falling off a log, to raise a puppy so he's going to be bomb-proof and trustworthy with people. But breeders aren't doing it, owners aren't doing it, and vets aren't telling them to do it because they don't realize it's so important, because they look at the puppy at 2 months, 3 months, 4 months and say, but he's friendly. Why should we socialize? You see, the effects don't come out until later. And the effects of insufficient socialization are permanent.
If people want to end up with a dog that fits in harmoniously with their family, what should they do?
The puppy, well, the most important thing there is that the breeder has done their job. You know, they're probably going to get a puppy when it's about 8 weeks old. And at that time, the critical period of socialization is nearly 2/3 over. And so the breeder should have really socialized this dog to, I would say, about 100 people, which of course can be done quite safely in the kennel. We don't take the dog outside where it's risky to, parvo and other diseases. Instead, we invite people to the kennel. I would say the only health precaution would be that outdoor shoes remain outside. So you get about 100 people, especially men and children, because that's who dogs are normally scared of, that handle, socialize with, and train the puppies. Additionally, the puppies should be house trained by then, chew toy trained by then, and should know some manners, at least come, sit, lie down, roll over. There's just no point in an owner getting a puppy at 8 weeks that isn't house trained. It's been raised in an area where it can pee and poop everywhere and anywhere, because if that's what it did in the kennel for 8 weeks, that's what it's going to do the first day they get it at home. And because it's allowed to eliminate indiscriminately, it's going to be even more difficult to house train. The chew toy training is important. The puppies in the last, 3 or 4 weeks in the kennel should be fed from chew toys. And obviously, every bit of food that comes out of the chew toy rewards the puppy for what he's doing, i.e. chewing the chew toy becomes the chew toyaholic, for lying down, for becoming calmer, much very important for dogs like border collies and, and what have you. And they've been rewarded for being quiet. So they're not developing a recreational barking habit. And finally, of course, it's given them a hobby, chewing chew toys, so they're not going to freak out as much when left at home alone. So basically, by 8 weeks, I would say the puppies are, it's like make or break. You're either going to buy a puppy that's been raised to be a companion, a household companion, or they're going to buy livestock. And this, I think, is, I call it the great insanity, the big disgrace, that I would say only 1 out of 100 breeders are raising puppies that way. And so, the unsuspecting owner gets the short end of the stick and they're behind before they even start.
And failure of potty training is a really big issue, isn't it? It sort of can lead to all sorts of worse problems down the track and eventually the surrendering of the dog.
Oh, yeah. No question about it. Really simple, predictable, preventable behavior problems are the number one terminal illness for pet dogs and cats. And it's so silly when something like house training is so easy and so effortless. All the breeder has to do is to set up the living situation so the puppies are in an area which is long and thin, so 3 times as long as it's wide, with a bedroom at one end, and its toys and water supply, and then a toilet at the other end. And the puppy will naturally house train itself because it has 3 very strong preferences. 1, to pee and poop as far away from the bedroom as possible. 2, they like to pee where they smell urine. And 3, the substrate preference. As adult dogs, they like to urinate and defecate on the same ground surface that they did as puppies. So normally, what I put down is a roll of turf. For urban puppies, I put down a little, concrete tile, or it can be dirt. For poor people that live in places like Canada, I say, well, put down crushed ice. I'm being totally serious here. And you find by 4 weeks the puppies are naturally house trained. It's really very, very simple. Because I'm telling people, don't buy a puppy that's not house trained. It's dumb. Don't buy one that's not chew toy trained, and especially for the puppy's sake and yours, don't get one that hasn't been socialized, because, you know, if a puppy is anxious around people, his quality of life is going to be crap for life. Mm-hmm. And the owners too, because they can't invite people to the house. When they invite kids over, they have to put the dog away. They can't walk the dog. It's a crying shame, and I think it's the cruelest, most inhumane thing we do to dogs, that we don't socialize them prior to 3 months of age. We don't prepare them to live with humans. I mean, humans are difficult to live with. You know, how dogs put up with us, I really don't know. It's admirable.